So it's January the 20th today, and we're going to have a fabulous eclipse tonight. So I look forward to seeing that. I'm just having some tomato soup. James is inside, but he didn't want to come out because he said his back's hurting. So he's going to sit in there. Cartel 2045. I thought it might be funny. It was just really bad. So bad. Mary kills people. The complete second season. It was okay, but short. I can't believe it's a Canadian-made thing, but only 264 minutes in a whole season. That seems pretty shy. Anyway. Acid Horizon. I expected this to be good. I was looking forward to it. It was just bad. I'll read what I wrote. It's a doc claimed to be about acidification of the oceans. It's only an hour long. Last year, acidic water came up out of the depths and killed all the oyster larvae. Acid Horizon is no coral besides supercoral or shellfish live there. The Acid Horizon's getting shallower. It's coming up. Supercoral Lophelia is not a very informative doc. I won't recommend it. Siphonefa looks like a blue and purple leaf or of kelp or something, but it's a relative of a jellyfish. That I thought was interesting. Pteropods look cool. Seriously? They've wasted so much video time in this documentary with scenes of them sitting around blabbing, ocean shots, and even teaching one guy how to tie a knot. This documentary may have been intended to be about ocean acidification, but it ended up showing how much money in technology and wages are wasted by employing people like these guys to do important work. This boring, uninformative doc felt like it was 6 hours long. Honestly, I can't stand watching people collecting liver samples for experimentation. It's almost as disgusting as reading about people robbing tombs. What work do they do? What good do they do? They show us riding around on boats. Them riding around on boats. Playing with expensive equipment and then getting drunk and stupid. Honestly, they wasted a lot of video time showing them drunk and drinking. Why? They could have been teaching us something. I don't know what they're trying to do. Maybe they're trying to encourage people, hey, you're drunk and stupid, why don't you become a marine biologist? Look how cool we are. I don't know what that was about. Anyway. They're planning on seeding this super coral where it doesn't belong because the rest of the coral is dying. So, but I don't understand. Why not let it spread on its own naturally? And I don't know if it's a good thing to promote a monoculture of supercoral where it doesn't belong anyway. And then what are they planning to use genes from the supercoral to maybe modify the other corals of the world? And is that a good idea? Even if it works, I don't know. What's the possible benefit? This doc didn't explain anything to me. They could have answered all of those questions for me. They did not. Useless. Now this one was a good one, but I like the PBS Frontline stuff, and this is a PBS Frontline video. It's Poverty, Politics, and Profit, and this one is very much worth watching. So I'm going to set this one up here so you can remember the title while I'm reading about it. So you can put it on hold. PBS Frontline and NPR examine two of the government's key affordable housing programs. They end up finding hidden bank accounts and shell companies. Waitlists for Section 8 vouchers can take years to get, and only 1 in 4 who needs it gets one. The vouchers make up the difference of what the renters can afford and what the rent costs. Once they get the vouchers, they have 90 days to find a place which will accept the voucher or the voucher expires. Low-income housing tax credit led to private investment housing development. IRS gave credit to states. States give credits to developers. Developers exchange the tax credits for cash at banks. This cash allows them to build properties that people can afford. So, in theory, the costs go down because they're being subsidized by the government, right? So anyway, the neighborhood's residents started protesting against the properties being built in their neighborhoods, these low-income properties. 20 states now rely on letters of support for low-income properties to be built in their neighborhoods. When they researched, they found that less properties are actually being built since the tax credit, and the properties are costing more to build somehow. And people are suspicious of where the money's going. Carlyle and Cox had over $1 billion in development, but Cox suspected partner Carlyle of cooking the books, secret accounts. They developed a kickback scheme, and both of them were getting kickbacks. Contract is inflated, and the extra money is kept by Carlyle and Cox. So they'd do something like, say there was a project which would cost they'd get a quote and from a builder, right? And the builder would say, yeah, I'll build that for $12 million, and then they'd put in the cost to the government as being $14 million. So then Carlyle and Cox would get $2 million for doing nothing, to put into shell companies and whatever. And so anyway, they had $30 million in profit that way. There was a count in the names of one of the guy's dogs, 12 million in the names of his dogs, and a shell company called Shush Contracting, which did nothing, right? They just got money. David Deutsch of Pinnacle used Dax, a shell company which didn't actually do any work. When caught for stealing $4 million, they paid back the money and a $1 million fine. The rumor was that Dax was in Costa Rica, so then they went there. And Dax was a person living there, a driver, but he didn't believe that they'd named a company after them, even though they told him that they did so. But it doesn't look like he actually got any of the money. So anyway, Pinnacle had a huge property in Costa Rica, so they were going, the CEOs or whatever, were going to Pinnacle, and they were taking their investors or whoever there for big weekends or whatever. And they followed one woman who'd been living in a van with her children. It looked like 4 children. I wasn't really paying attention until I was like, wow, too many children. And then, but I mean, if you want to see how many, you can watch it. I don't really care that much, because whatever. And she did get a voucher, I think, but then couldn't find a place to accept it out of the hood. So she was, at first, at the beginning, like they were following a couple people, low-income people at the beginning of the doc, and then showed them at the end how things had worked out for them or whatever. And the one woman, yeah, she couldn't get a job out of the hood, even though she'd wanted to, or not a job, a house out of the hood, but she'd wanted to. She didn't want to have to stay in the hood, but nobody would accept her, and she decided, oh, well, I'm going to stay in the hood because at least I'm not discriminated against here or whatever. I mean, she couldn't go anywhere else. So, but while she was there, her van was repossessed since she fell behind on the payments. She was staying at a friend's house. Anyway. I mean, PBS did kind of make it a bit of a race issue. But I don't really know that it was that. Like, they did show, there was one wealthier looking woman, blonde, young, pretty, that they showed at the beginning, who was not in support of these projects being built in her neighborhood. So she talked, and she said, you know, I'm not a racist or whatever, but this is a class issue. And she was thinking, you know, she was even telling the reporter, I know this is going to make me look bad, but this is just the way it is, you know. And I mean, it's tough living in neighborhoods like, since they put up that drug building or whatever, where they can go get free needles or whatever. It's really, this neighborhood's been more interesting than it needs to be. And it doesn't have to be, you know, like, I'm low income and I'm not going around stealing people's birdhouses, but they come and steal mine. So it's not a race thing, but it's maybe a culture thing. I don't know, like, because it's, I mean, people could be any color of beige or tan and come through here, and I mean, the guy who left the bicycle in my yard, he was more beige, like my skin, and but whatever. But I could see how, you know, people might think that since I'm low income, I'm like one of those stealer people. I'm not, you know. But I can understand that. Just living here and near the drug place and just people coming through all the time. It's incredible. Anyway, that's all I'm going to talk about right now.